I want to rid the world of solopreneurs, because it's like prison. It's like, oh, I have a job, I want freedom, so I'm going to go work for myself. And now they do it all by themselves, and they find that it's a greater prison. The biggest thing in the way is their pride. They put themselves in a prison, they lock the door, and then they complain about how they have no life anymore. So I want to give them the key and walk them out of that cage. What happens is they have a tendency to say, well, if I could just make $300,000 a year, my life would change. Only to realize that once they hit 300, they're like, it should be a millionaire, and they're, more and more. And there's a negative side to that dissatisfaction, but there's also a positive side. When you're building a business, you want to grow, and it's not necessarily about the money. It's about getting better and building.
And keeping the momentum.
How do you look at the threats, not within the organization, because those we're going to get to, but the threats that are outside of the organization, whether it's competition, whether it's the economy, whether it's whatever it is, an enemy that's kind of at the gate, and you have to fight this off?
So I think, to me, let's not be ignorant to it, right? So knowing and understanding your competition, you're playing football, like I'll use that as an example. We studied them in great depth. From a business perspective, I think one of the things when I entered into BVM, we did have a big competitor that was something that you would hear very frequently, the name of it, and it scared people. And I think what we did is we just, listen, let's be the best version of ourselves. Let's actually build the best business that we can. So we stayed hyper-focused on what we did well, and it's amazing how you don't even hear that anymore.
You don't hear their name anymore?
It doesn't.
So what were we, like 3 times bigger?
And so I think it depends on the situation. Again, if you need to really stay hyper-focused and know what the competition is doing, that's one component of, for us in the business that we're in, we stay on building greatness, right? Literally building the people and building our products and what we're offering to our clients. And through that, it's not even an issue. And then to your point, I think we're double, almost triple to the size they are now because of what we were being able to do. And they started before us.
Yeah.
So my advice would be it depends in regards to the situation that you're at. But from a business perspective right now, we're looking at that as, hey, how do we get better? Because we've got a great product, we've got great people, and as what Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? Yeah. And this idea of building a great culture, and within that, it's amazing how, like, whether it be new products or new ideas, it flourishes and it comes up, and we're able to continue to move and also change with the times.
I think it's an interesting thing to be aware of competition and just not fear it. You can take this from the macro level of leading a company and building it hundreds of millions, $1 billion, whatever you want to build it to, or you can take it right down to an individual sales rep. Individual sales rep is afraid of competition in their area, the corporation at large. What I have found is if that particular person in that area got up every day and did their job without fear, they're going to crush their competition.
All day long.
Yeah, because most, especially in sales is a good example of it, because most people don't do well in sales because they don't do the work. They don't make the calls. They don't do the prospecting. They're not out there meeting with people.
And you're not even talking something like some dramatic, like, oh my gosh, I've got to, lift this 250-pound weight. You're just talking about doing the same
simple
thing. Simple reps every day consistently.
Yeah, and let them worry about you.
Yeah.
If you do that every single day, they're going to be freaked out about you. And the other thing, too, is this law of scarcity, too, for the most part, because as opposed to abundance, because there's so much out there, generally speaking. Now, there are some businesses, like when you were in sale, there's only so much, so many.
With one client,
There's only so many company you can go to make the sale. But for most people, they're out there, and there's way more options. SMBs in particular, and they're sitting there thinking, oh, well, this company is twice the size of me, like the solopreneur. And by the way, I want to rid the world of solopreneurs. Because it's like prison. It's like, oh, I have a job, I want freedom, so I'm going to go work for myself. And now they do it all by themselves, and they find that it's a greater prison. It's a great start, by the way, but Nico and I are going to rid the world of solopreneurs, one solopreneur at a time, turn them into entrepreneurs. That's like, boom, that massive difference between solo and entre. And the biggest thing in the way is their pride. They put themselves in a prison, they lock the door, and then they complain about how they have no life anymore. So I want to give them the key and walk them out of that cage. But what happens is they have a tendency to say, well, if I could just make $300,000 a year, my life would change. Only to realize that once they hit 300, they're like, it should be a millionaire, and they're more and more. And there's a negative side to that dissatisfaction, but there's also a positive side. When you're building a business, you want to grow, and it's not necessarily about the money. It's about getting better and building, right?
Yeah.
But anyway,
and keeping the momentum.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, I'm making $100,000. If I could make $300,000, life would be so good. Now they're on pace to make 300,000 or making 300,000, but because they see that the competition is at 2 million, they now get afraid, as opposed to going, wait a second, I actually set out to accomplish something and I accomplished it, and now I'm freaked out about something else. They should have just set out for the 2 million and they'd get there. How do you lead? Because you've been very good at this, helping people see opportunity bigger than it is. What are the ways you do that?
I think one of the things that we do is also set realistic goals. Like, so it depends on some people, and we've talked about this. When they look at it, they've only made $50,000 a year. If they go, oh my gosh, I want to do 200, it's so big. And they stop believing it.
There's studies, I think, that show that people can only see themselves doubling their income.
That's right. I've heard that many, many times. So again, having this idea of, okay, where do you want to go? For me, I always start with the highest why. Like, what's your why? So why are you doing for my family, for whatever? So that will give me the conviction, the belief that I need to push through the uncomfortableness that's going to come, overcoming the no. So having that why, having the goal, and then this is the other big thing. And I think one of the things that makes us so great within BVM is this idea of having the personal coaching, right? This accountability that drives people. So one of the things that I do from a leadership perspective is not only help people achieve the goal or set goals, help them how they're going to get it, have the third component, which is providing the accountability to make sure they continue to do that. It's amazing how a little nudge, a little call, or even these accountability sessions, like for us, I have literally every week one-on-one sessions with all of our key people. And I think a lot of businesses don't do that. I lay it out. Here's what we're going to talk about. They come prepared and we have great sessions. And in that process, it's amazing how the learning takes place, but also how their conviction is starting to be firmed up in the belief on what's possible.
You're getting their head right.
They're getting their head right.
We call it TTP in the AM. Talk to people in the morning.
Yeah.
You get their head. I mean, if you think about that, how many direct reports do you have?
12.
Oh, I only had 3.
Yeah, you're wise. Actually, I just cut that.
Once I said
be 8.
Is it?
Right?
All right,
yeah.
good. No,
It should be
I had somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
But so at 12, if you get every one of those people's heads right in the right direction, and of course you have such great people in those roles that they're working hard to get their own head right. But if you're ensuring that and they're pointed in the right direction, you in essence could go home. I mean, that's a theoretical thing, but in essence you can, because you've got everybody moving in the right direction to get it done. Now, I know that what you do is you basically say, well, if I'm going to continue to lead and I'm giving them everything I have to get more. So even though their heads are right, you're working on yourself and working on ideas too. But
I think to that point, though, is if you're a leader like CEO, VP, or whatever, director, pouring into your people. And then there's a comfort knowing that you have impact the entire business.
Hey there, Giant. Thanks for watching Durand On Demand. I need your help with something. The world desperately needs more giants. You know it, and I know it. We've been around a lot of people struggling, figuring out how to make things go. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this with as many people as you can. We're going to build this audience, and we're going to help people slay dragons together.